The Zimbabwean capital, Harare, 2 days into a coup that the army is still saying isn't a coup. But the streets are far too quiet for rush hour traffic, and there is a sense here of the pendulum swinging. Every newsstand in town shouts it out. Robert Mugabe, once the strongman of Africa, is now under house arrest. Today, pictures of the 93-year-old emerged for the first time since the Tuesday night takeover. Meeting with his alleged jailer, the head of the Zimbabwean Defense Forces, and with South African envoys reportedly tasked with convincing Mugabe to step down voluntarily. People on the street are certainly anxious for it.
We don't have many words about it. Mugabe must go. That's the only way that Mugabe must go. He should be stepped down. He's supposed to step down.
Pundits say it's important for the army that Mugabe himself makes the move.
To all intents and purposes, this is a military takeover, which is likely to lead to a transition. Whether or not this transition will be democratic or not is another question altogether.
Rumors are rife and much still unclear and unconfirmed, but the expectation is that the man Mugabe fired last week, his vice president, Emmerson Mnangagwa, backed by the army, will take over the presidency and perhaps reach out to opposition politicians, including Morgan Tsvangirai of the Movement for Democratic Change.
In the interest of the people of Zimbabwe, Mr. Robert Mugabe must resign, step down immediately in line with the national sentiment and expectation.
Robert Mugabe, of course, has never been known for doing what's expected of him, but the army is now in charge, and the prospect of a slightly more dignified exit from Zimbabwe's political stage might be tempting, especially if it comes with guarantees for his family and in particular for his wife Grace, such a polarizing figure in this country. Margaret Evans, CBC News, Harare.
Now, there's a reason calls for Mugabe to go are multiplying now. Why the public in Zimbabwe seems so eager to throw itself behind what is widely seen as a military takeover. It's about the desperate need for change in Zimbabwe, which looks a lot like this. Bank lineups in 2008 and bank lineups a few months ago. This is a country with a cash crisis that doesn't get better. Just under a decade ago, the currency was so devalued, we watched people cart around wheelbarrows of money, billions of largely useless Zimbabwean dollars.
How much money do you make all day out here?
$250 million.
That currency was ditched for the American dollar, but Zimbabwe had the largest public debt in the world and 80% of people living below the poverty line. So U.S. cash dwindled too. There's a new bill, the bond note. It's no better, according to journalists who are struggling to make ends meet and make this country make sense.
So you find that some banks will say you can withdraw $40. Some banks will say you can withdraw $50. I'm told some would even say less, and some would even give you all that money in coins. So you kind of have to spend almost your day waiting for cash and get a bit of it so that you can come again.
If you're even able to earn money, Zimbabwe's unemployment numbers range from 4%, according to the government, to 95%, according to activists.
I was doing a story yesterday, and this individual told me that they want change. Any change is better than no change. So right now, people are just optimistic about how it's all going to end.
Any change that leaves them with some change simply to make do. Of course, Mugabe's legacy goes beyond economic hardship. Both he and the generals who are taking control now presided over purges and persecution. People were arrested, beaten, and tortured. Some fled to Canada, but their memories came with them. And these days, especially, they are close to the surface.
I left Zimbabwe with my family in 2001 because we did not feel safe under the Mugabe's rulership. 2000 and 2001 was the worst years of my life. Most of the time, you go to work, you think you're going to perform your duties as a nurse. Those youth thugs, they'll come and get us from from work to go into the field. And our job was just to sing and to cheerleading them while they were beating white farmers, taking over their possessions, their land. We went door to door, actually encouraging people to vote no to dictatorship and no to one-party state, as well as no to life presidency. And from then on, people were being targeted. And one particular day, I wasn't feeling well, and I did not go. They came, the boys, his boys, the so-called youths, they came and picked me up and took me to the police station, where I thought police is supposed to protect us as civilians. But I was beaten. I was beaten. A lot of times you are driving home, you just see suspicious cars following you. And it's one of those things that you think, okay, if I'm gonna die, nobody will know where I am at, because the place where they'll take us, no one will know. And when they release you barefooted. It was very difficult. We left our families. We had to leave everything that we had, and we left with a suitcase just full of clothes, literally, and a few belongings. And by the time I get home, it was just it. I mean, I didn't have that much money to bring my children to buy like 3 tickets for us. I just left my children in the custody of my sister. As a parent, how do you answer your child? Or how do you say goodbye to your child? It's not like, goodbye, it's not a good thing to say, especially as a parent to your own children. Like, I didn't know how to say goodbye to them. I just turned my back and crying myself all the way. That's all I could do. A lot of people are in support of the army, of what the army has done. Because people have been oppressed and suppressed and repressed for a long, long time. At times you think, is it real that Mugabe is going? So for us to see him like this and to know that he's just a mere man has been an exciting thing to watch. But we still have a lot of work to do to restore our nation.